Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Had a great time this last weekend in Birmingham, Alabama. We're there at Word of Life. If you're anywhere in Kentucky this weekend, we'll be in Danville at Faith Church of Danville. We'll have a great time. Be there Sunday morning, Sunday night. Like I said, each week, man, the crowds seem to be so excited about the coming of the Lord. And there's such a knowledge, looks like, coming for all the churches that they're really getting it, that we're so close to the coming of the Lord. I mean, right now, even sinners, I think, can tell something's up. I mean, it's just blatant in our face right now that there's a change coming. The amazing thing is that there should be such a shouting from the rooftops that Jesus is about to come. So that's why we're coming every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, specifically the gathering of nations for the Ezekiel 38 war, because that happens just after the rapture. And we look at all the signs of the second coming. I mean, our book has like 70 some odd signs. It's pretty remarkable that there's so much documentation about how close we are, because the Lord wants you excited. He said, lift up your heads, your redemption is drawing nigh. So we get into end times not as an escape theology, but a hustle theology. When you see the finish line, you run faster. You know, college football started this last few weeks, and I love to watch that play clock wind down, and I think of it as the church has to get that mentality. The quarterback doesn't freak out, but he hustles. There's an urgency to get things done in a short period of time. And that's why we get into end times. I've heard people say, well, Joe, if you preach on end times, you'll just get everybody's hopes up. That's right. It's the hope that purifies you, even as you're pure. You remember the demons, when Jesus went into the villages, the demons cried out, have you come to torment us before the time? And I love it, instant submission before he even opened his mouth. So they knew that Jesus was on a schedule. He was just early. So if demons could know the schedule, how much more the church? So Feast of Trumpets has come and gone this last weekend. I told the Lord, if you're going to come, you missed a wonderful opportunity. So we'll see. I know we're super close to his return. So let's pick up what's happened around Israel this last week. Many things have happened, and I know I go fast, but there's so much. You had Israel's Mossad chief say it is an absolute strategic disaster, the Iranian deal, basically the nuclear deal. So it's intriguing to see them pushing for that when it is a strategic disaster. Reason being is he even quoted what the International Atomic Energy Agency said. They've got nuclear particles in all these sites that they aren't even disclosing, showing that there's probably all kinds of other sites. Remember last week I talked about Gantz showed the 10 different locations with maps and pictures of the missile sites in Syria. So you had this last week Iran firing missiles into Iraq, going after the Kurds. You had Turkey firing missiles into northern Syria after the Kurds. So you've got Iran and Turkey in a feisty mood to kill people, along with Russia. Why is that a big deal? Russia, Iran, and Turkey are the instigators in the Ezekiel 38 war. All three of those nations are firing missiles. You had 2 Chinese fighter planes fly right over one of our destroyers and did a selfie. You have Russian and Chinese warships off the coast of Alaska. I mean, you had the Nord Stream gas pipeline under the Baltic Sea got sabotaged this last week, literally showing that you could shut down the gas supply for Europe just like that. I mean, these 2 explosions happened, and no one can find out even who did it, so it's just wild. In the middle of all that, this is really cool because we haven't had a chance to get into it much lately. You had NASA's DART system. It's a double asteroid rendezvous test. They did it Monday, and they said some telescopes could actually see it the last couple of days. What they did was they took a spaceship and fired it into one of the asteroids that were around the main asteroid, and it exploded on it. But the thing is, they haven't said what the results were. So that happened on Monday. What was really cool, though, on Monday, you had Jupiter, the king planet, be as close to the Earth as it's been in 59 years. Pretty amazing. And why is that a big deal? It's near the Earth. The king is near Jesus. So just like Regulus went over and crowned Jupiter at the birth of Jesus, you had Jupiter right here close to the Earth on Monday. So you have so many earthquakes. You got so much stuff happening like that I don't even have time to get into all of it. But we do look at what's happening with China and with Russia and with Israel. So the main thing, though, is, man, you had Israel, the chief of police went up on the Temple Mount trying to basically bring calm back to the worshipers that were there. You know, the red heifers that came last week I talked about, the Temple Mount Institute came out this week saying we're literally about 13 months from having having those ready for sacrifices. It's funny how one group says they can do it next week, the next group says they can do it in 13 months. But just them saying that is what I said a few weeks ago. I mean, they're building a train system and a train track from Tel Aviv, Ben Gurion Airport, straight to the Temple Mount so people can come instantly right there to worship. So, man, Jesus is just about to come back. I mean, there's event after event after event after event that is so blatant, it's remarkable. Well, you had more happening in the West Bank, probably one of the most violent weekends in the West Bank. You had the Palestinian leader saying he's going to completely denounce Israel. You have Emmanuel Macron, France's president. The first White House state dinner is going to be him. They made a big deal out of that. It seems like everybody knows what his background is and who he really is. He's basically fulfilling everything that the Bible says you'd see for the Antichrist. He's part Assyrian, part Jew. His name is Emmanuel, means God with us. Macron means the mark. It's weird. That's the first state dinner for our president in the United States. So a lot more of that happening, undertones of that. You have Russia admitting that their drone system's not up to battlefield ready use, even with Iran sending theirs down there. You had Iran this week testing their drones and tests all week. It looks like they're getting ready to fire more, so they're going through all these tests. You had cyber attacks on Iran. Most of their government computers were hacked this last week. So you got in every single area activity that points to major change, and that is World War III, and that's the Ezekiel 38 war. So aren't we blessed? Wow, as crazy as all that is, it points us to, hey, the king's about to come back. So let's go through the scripture and look what's happened. We got Israel made a nation, Jerusalem won back. And Jesus said the generation that sees those two will not pass away till all is fulfilled. But then you have the Hebrew language restored. You got the Ethiopian Jews brought back. You got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. You have the Temple Mount Institutes ready to have sacrifices. You have 172 different species of predatory birds that showed up. You have fish in the Dead Sea. You had the Dead Sea turn blood red last year where Sodom and Gomorrah is on the Day of Atonement. You have foxes on the Temple Mount. I mean, that's radical. You have the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water, first time in 2,000 years. So you got birds in position, Russia in position, fish in position. Everything's in position. So what's the church do? We have to hustle. This is it. What do? You help your local church, help your local pastor, get involved. So you have all these signs. Signs aren't to scare you. They're to show you how close you are to your destination. So after that, though, you had signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. That's radical. 4 in a row. NASA called that a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 in a row like that? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back, 1948 when Israel was made a nation, and 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So God raised up Columbus to sail the ocean blue in 1492. He discovered America, and America has been a safe harbor for the Jews. So all these things taking place in our lifetime. There's many, 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 many more. If you got into all of it, it's overwhelming. But the Lord did all this so that we would have a heads up and comprehend how close we are. Why? He wants you happy and hopeful. The whole thing is because He loves you so much. He wants you thrilled and filled with joy that you're about to see the King. And what that does is produces a momentum and an acceleration for you to do the will of God. And that's to be a soul winner, is to help your local church, do everything. Walk with God, speak for God, be a spokesman right here before Jesus comes. We are there. Everybody keeps saying, well, we're 20 or 30 years away. No, we're there. We're there. He's coming very, 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 very soon. So let's go for it as we see the finish line and run as fast as we can. Colleen and I want to thank you for supporting us. Thanks for sending us. We want to try to get the message out as many places as we can. The things are so crazy looking for next year, and the remainder of this year are so busy. Churches are hungry, so I believe you're going to have a wonderful fall season. And let the presence of God show you, even in your spirit, not just the signs, but even in your spirit, how close we are to the coming of the King. It'll register in your heart. You're about to see Jesus face to face, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Have a blessed, wonderful week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the edu at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.